With a song in my heart, the story of men and their music, of composers who really had a song in their hearts.
She was done. You were all the sweet things rolled into one.
You're like a plaintive melody that never sets me free.
For I'm content the angels must have sent you, and they meant you just for me.
You Were Meant for Me, one of the really big hits from the early days of the talkies. Its composer, Nacio Herb Brown, better known to his intimates as Herb Brown. He's known in Tin Pan Alley as being a somewhat different type of songwriter to the usual accepted pattern. But then, Nacio Herb Brown is a different type of man. As far as I know, he's the only person who, possessing an undoubted gift for composition, had to be literally pleaded with to accept a songwriting contract. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's see. It was back in Deeming, New Mexico.
Herb! Herb! Mother, where is that boy now?
I think he's down in the barn with his sister.
Down in the barn? Doesn't he know it's time for our music practice?
Oh, he's probably forgotten the time.
Well, he shouldn't when it comes to practice. Why, I'm the sheriff of this town, and yet I can make time. Why can't he? And his sister, too.
Maybe it's because they're still only kids.
Hmm?
Remember, Dad, you were young once.
I guess I was, dear. And I'd probably have done the same thing.
And that was the kind of musical atmosphere that Herb Brown was cultivated on. His father, mother, and sister were all keen musicians, and the family, with Herb as pianist, delighted in playing chamber music. Is it any wonder that some few years later, he turned out a bag full of smash hits, one of which was Singin' in the Rain, introduced to a delighted public in the early talkie Hollywood Review in 1929. If your memory's good, you'll remember it was sung by Cliff Edwards, who was known in those days as Ukulele Ike.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling, I'm happy again. With gray skies above and someone to love. The sun's in my heart and I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from its place. Come on with the rain, I've a smile on my face. I walk down the lane with a happy refrain. Just singing in the rain. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from its place. Come on with the rain, I've a smile on my face. I walk down the lane with a happy refrain. Just singing in the rain.
But to get back to Herb's story, his first real professional engagement was as a pianist to a girl variety performer. He tried this out for a few months, but for him, it was no dice. The constant travel, plus the uncertainty of the profession as to where the next meal was coming from, just didn't appeal. So, back he went to Hollywood, where his family were now living. He opened up a men's store and made a pretty successful job of it. But he wasn't satisfied. Discussing it with a friend, he said,
You know what? I think I'd sell my business.
For the love of Mike, what for, Herb? You've got one of the best little stores in Los Angeles. And look at the movie stars you've got as customers. Why, half the people of this town would give everything they have to number such stars as Rudolph Valentino and Charlie Chaplin among their clients. Why, it doesn't make sense.
Maybe. Still, I figure I can sell out at a nice profit.
And then what?
Into the real estate business. I think there's a packet to be made in selling some of that land in Beverly Hills.
There's gold in them there hills, huh?
You said it.
And so, a little later, Herb became an up-and-coming real estater. What's more, he made a big success of that, too. But as a relaxation, he still played piano, and mighty well, too. His first number, which he tossed off casually, became a hit. It was called Coral Sea. That should have been enough to send him straight into the songwriting biz. But no, he just kept right on with his house and land sales. Another hit followed, this time a real socceroo. It was the famous Doll Dance. After this number had swept the world, publishers commenced to woo Brown to throw up real estate and settle down to composing. But no, sir. Herb wasn't having any. As far as he was concerned, he was a businessman. Songwriting was merely a sideline, which makes him pretty unique. But then the talkies arrived. And with the talkies came a demand for songwriters. They came to Hollywood by the truckload. But Brown, he had to be urged to write for them. And by the biggest big shot in Hollywood, Irving Thalberg, top executive of MGM and husband of Norma Shearer.
Herb, do you realize what the coming of sound means to the movies?
Guess I've got an idea. It's going to give movies a big lift.
A big lift? Herb, it's going to revolutionize the whole of show business. Nothing like this has ever been seen before. I can use a Hollywood expression and say the future of talkies is colossal. The silence will be chicken feed compared to the money in talkies. And you're going to cash in on it.
How come, Mr. Thalberg?
By writing the music for our first big musical. And there's a fortune waiting for you.
I'm afraid I'm not interested. I appreciate your offer, of course, but my business, it's going along swell.
Maybe, Herb, but this is bigger, much bigger. Get this straight. MGM wants you and is prepared to pay for you. You can write your own ticket. What do you say?
I tell you what, Mr. Thalberg, I'll write the music for this one picture. After that, it's back to the real estate.
And that's how it came about that Herb Brown was teamed up with lyric writer Arthur Freed to do the score of that epic we know as Broadway Melody. There were a number of Brown hits in that show, but possibly the best of them was The Wedding of the Painted Dog.
It's a holiday, today's the wedding of the painted dog. It's a jolly day, the news is spreading all around the home.
We're riding wood and that's the band.
The jumping jack jumped into town.
From far and near they're coming here.
Church bells ringing, ringing on the little dog is from the fall. He's with the painted cheeks. Little man with dog has fussed around for weeks and weeks. Shoe the blues, no time to lose. Rice and shoes will spread the news that it's a holiday. Today's the wedding of the little painted dog. Here come the bridesmaids. Look at them in their places. Look at the fancy laces. Look at them as they smile. All sorrow away.
Here comes the bride now.
Look at the little cutie, look at the little beauty, look at the little doll. It's her wedding day.
Here's a preacher man, oh look, as he takes his little black book. He is sure he knows his stuff, 'cause he's done it often enough.
Here comes the bridegroom, ready for the service, just a little service. Hear the preacher say, you're married to stay. Oh, the little dog is from the fall, he's with the painted cheeks. Little mama dog has fussed around for weeks and weeks. Shoe the blues, no time to lose. Rice and shoes will spread the news that it's a holiday. Today's the wedding of the little painted dog.
The success of Broadway Melody finally did the trick. No longer could Herb Brown afford to pass up the money the talkies had to offer. He had arrived in the biggest possible way. Last, he said goodbye to his real estate business and became one of the world's ace songwriters. A newspaper critic said of him,
Songwriter Nacio Herb Brown and the talkies hit the jackpot simultaneously. The advent of both was meteoric, and each one emanated from Hollywood. Brown must be the only American composer in history who made the grade from Los Angeles and not New York, the home of Tin Pan Alley. Brown belongs to the West Coast, and from what I can gather, intends to stay there.
And stay there he did, with the talkies. And hit after hit came from his facile pen. One of these was the nostalgic Pagan Love Song. Remember? Shortly after this, the talkies lured one of the biggest acts in variety to make a picture. Yes, it was those crazy goons, the Marx Brothers. And were they a hit? They rocked the customers wherever their films played. But their producers knew that even the Marx Brothers needed a good musical background for their buffoonery. And so, once again, Herb Brown and Arthur Freed were called upon. So, when delighted fans saw the Marx Brothers in A Night at the Opera, they also heard Alan Jones introduce a new Brown hit tune. That really beautiful song, Alone.
Alone with a sky of romance above. Alone on a night that was meant for love. There must be someone waiting who feels the way I do. Wherever you are you alone? Alone on a night that we two could share. Alone with your kiss that could make me care. And when you come, I promise to be your very own. Alone with a heart meant for you.
The boom period of musical talkies was on, and Herb Brown, together with lyric writer Arthur Freed, continued to turn out hit after hit. Meanwhile, every major movie unit in Hollywood vied with each other in turning out bigger and more lavish musicals. The cream of the world's talent was brought to the screen, with money no object. In the interim, of course, songwriters found this new medium a bonanza. But few, if any, cashed in on it as solidly as Herb Brown. The talkie Lord Byron of Broadway introduced still another Brown-Freed smash. This time, the haunting Should I?
Should I reveal exactly how I feel? Should I confess I love you? Should I recite beneath the pale moonlight and swear by stars above you? Could I repeat the sweetest story told? Could I entreat? Would it be too bold? Should I reveal exactly how I feel? Should I confess I love you?
Shortly after this, the bubble burst. The fans who'd flocked to the Hollywood musicals by the million, and in all parts of the world, suddenly went cold on them and stayed away in large numbers. Result? Songwriters were out, and with them Nacio Herb Brown. Just as a few years previously, almost every songwriter had migrated to Hollywood, now...
Benny, I tell you, Hollywood is no place for music makers.
Yeah, you're right, Al. Dead right. What's to do?
It's back to Broadway for me. What do you say?
That's for me, too. Little old Tin Pan Alley is a-calling.
And it ain't calling in vain. Let's go while we still got enough to buy our fares.
And that's just how it was. The trek back to New York was on, and soon mighty few tunesmiths were left. Music was out, drama in. But what of Herb Brown? What did he do? Well, for a start, he lost his lyric writer, Arthur Freed. Arthur was interested in the technical side of talkies and eventually became a producer, and one of the very best in Hollywood. Meanwhile, Herb busied himself in other ventures, but somehow or other always found time to write a song hit, one of his very loveliest being the waltz Paradise, written with lyricist Gordon Clifford for that torrid star of other times, Pola Negri. The release of this song proved controversial, and for a time it was banned from the air. At a New York radio station...
I've come to interview you on the question of the song Paradise.
What do you want to know about it?
Well, frankly, I want to know why your station has barred it from broadcasting.
We've banned it because we consider it suggestive. You know our radio code is a highly ethical one, and this song just doesn't fit in with it.
But why? The number hasn't a doubtful line in it.
Maybe it hasn't. But the way some of these torch singers do it, No, sir. Paradise will not be heard over this station.
And believe it or not, that ban operated for quite a while. But it didn't stop the song from becoming a worldwide hit. So, as a reminder...
And then he holds my hand, la da 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 da, and then I understand, la da 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 da, his eyes of fire with one desire. Then a heavenly kiss. Could I resist? And then he dims the light. Da, 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 and then he holds me tight. Da, 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 da. Each kiss, each fond caress will lead the way to happiness. He takes me to
A lovely melody, that. And one of the reasons Nacio Herb Brown will always be regarded as an ace exponent of the popular song. He gave the world many great song successes and proved one of the most able hit pickers of his time. So, thanks to Herb Brown for your many happy melodies. And to our finale with another Brown natural. You Are My Lucky Star.
You are my lucky star. I saw you from afar. Two lovely eyes at me, they were beaming, gleaming. I was starstruck. You're all my lucky charm. I'm lucky in your arms. You opened heaven's portal here on earth for this poor mortal. You are my lucky star.
You're all my lucky charms. I'm lucky in your arms.
You opened heaven's portal here on earth for this poor mortal. You
And so we leave the music of yet another melody maker who had a song in his heart. The cast who dramatized his life story were Madeline Orr, Douglas Kelly, Keith Hudson, Don Moore, Eula Parker and her Parkettes, Max Blake, and Horry Dargy and his quartet. Your compere was John Morgan. Orchestra and chorus under the baton of William Flynn, With a Song in My Heart, was produced by Alfred Potter and scripted and directed by Jack O'Hagan.